So much, Joe, so much.
And the scary part is I don't even think this is the capitulation candle.
Well, I guess we'll see. We're live.
Oh, hey everybody. No, I mean I think that there's a lot of chatter about now a 75 bips rate hike on Wednesday. Now
Ooh,
everybody's starting to price in 75 because inflation was up again in May, I think 8.6 or something. I do find it kind of interesting though I was thinking about this the other day. When you look at these, trying to think about what the pandemic did, and when you start doing these growths off of lower start levels,
yep,
it makes the numbers look higher, the percentage change.
yeah,
But I'd like to see somebody do a study on whether there was any deflationary stuff during pandemic, or right before it, and then see what happened after. Because I see the prices in the grocery store, and I certainly see it at the gas station. I just went for $5.74 a gallon at a Shell, for
yeah,
premium. So,
yeah,
you sit there and you're like, what the, but you don't really see it as much anywhere else is what everybody's, and the Fed can't do anything about consumer prices or petrol prices, food or
no,
petrol.
no.
So I kind of wish they would just keep raising rates at a 50 bips chunk, but just keep that balance sheet pairing going, because that's where you get the real effect.
Yeah.
I am refreshing nobody talks about it, because that's the scary shit to me. The $9 trillion that's sitting there that they got to suck out of the banks to retire all that shit. And when the banks don't have the money, they can't, that $9 trillion doesn't cycle out into the lending market.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
it's funny.
Good.
I was listening to a Bankless podcast yesterday. Basically, I can't find the guy that they were talking to, but no, that's not him. Anyway, I'll find it and say his name. But this was some pretty dark shit. Like, and so I started doing some more research over the weekend, and like, there's a lot of people saying 5 to 10 year recession coming out of this mess, and that they'll do the rate stuff until September. Everything will look hunky dory, and they'll start printing money again, and to juice the economy, or try to, and then we'll be back in a fucking vicious cycle of inflation, maybe hyperinflation. I don't know. You know me, I don't know the economics well enough to make a call, but
I know I don't see. Well, look, I think there were the exact numbers. I always forget this, but I think 2 consecutive quarters of economic contraction is classified as a recession.
Right.
And if you go more than 2, and I don't know if it's 4, it's then a depression. So a 10-year recession is depression. I don't feel that bad about it. I mean, where's everybody else going? Where's the money going to go? I mean, you're going to pull out of dollars now when you can get 9% on an I bond,
right?
Or you can be in equities and liquidate instantly. I don't know where. I wouldn't even put money in real estate right now. I mean, I think it's just too. I mean, that's what I'm really worried about. Is I'm watching that one.
Yeah, it's interesting because he was saying that, and I've heard this over and over again here in South Florida. All of the hedge funds, including BlackRock, are buying tens of thousands of houses as soon as they come on the market, right? Yeah. And so his point was that he felt like real estate was a good bet right now because they're going to continue. They're going to continue doing that. That they're not going to stop doing it because they think long term it's a better bet than anything else they can put their money into. And so I thought that was really interesting. Now, but that also brings up another issue is they're not doing anything with these properties. Most of them they're letting sit empty. They're not even renting them. Like housing.
They must do something on the lending markets with those assets that makes it worthwhile.
Probably.
But they're probably also instantly depreciating the whole property.
Right.
Because it's business.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can write the whole thing off year 1.
Yeah.
I think, or at least 7 years, maybe 7 years it takes to depreciate something like that. But yeah, I've seen a lot of that. And I think that's one of the big problems with the rental markets right now. Why rents have gone up 40%. And at least in South Miami, they have. Yeah. I suspect it's similar everywhere else. It's kind of like a lot of people think it's because all the private equity guys own all that shit. And they're jacking the rates up in a coordinated strategy, or they're not renting it out, like you said, to control supply. I mean, I think hedge funds and private equity groups getting into residential housing is a huge red flag to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's what are you going to turn us all into a bunch of indentured servants?
That's it. Well, it's all about making money.
Yeah,
I don't think I don't think I think the goal is, hey, I can get income and appreciation eventually out of these properties. And while I keep them empty, I can fucking jack the prices up over the overall market. Right. And so, yeah, look, I think so. Chuck said, I got to think the Brits figured it out with their new windfall profit taxes. That's how to get these companies to cut their price gouging bullshit. Yeah. Unfortunately, the House and Senate tried to pass gouging bills specific to fuel, and one party blocked it.
Oh, gee, I wonder. Let me guess.
The party that loves to sing "Drill Baby Drill" at their convention. So, and I also found out today that in 2020, Trump negotiated with the Saudis to cut back 10 billion barrels in production. Billion? Is it billion? I don't know. I don't know how many barrels we deal with. But in 20, there was, in order to try to boost the price of oil and gas in the United States. I don't know if that has a long-term impact or not. But
well, I think whenever you see the U.S., well, like, look, we're all, of course, we're in a rut row with the Saudis right now over, them killing and hacking up that Washington Post reporter. But, we're trying to get them to flood the market with oil right now, but they're not doing it. And they did a little thing over the weekend I saw, but they're trying to show this little MBS guy thinks he's I mean, look, we made that country, us and the Brits. Okay. Yeah. We made all those countries. Come on, let's just get it out in the open. We picked the families and the tribes that were going to run it. Yeah. I mean, that's just the way it goes. So these people didn't really do anything to get this.
Right.
So to me, I'm kind of like, I mean, I know some Saudis. I know actually quite a few. And some of them pretty cool. But there is a sense of entitlement there that is so unfounded. And when the oil stops, it's just going to go back to a fucking desert. It just is. There's nothing else there. Who fucking wants to go there? I don't. I mean, I talk to people about Dubai all the time. I'm like, who the fuck wants to live in Dubai?
No, I mean, I think people think it's nice, but Jesus Christ, it's got to be fucking hot.
It's like a fucking 130 degrees. And you don't want to pay taxes on crypto. Yes, I get it. But there's also another country called Switzerland.
Exactly.
That doesn't tax crypto. And also Portugal. It's like, look, man, go somewhere with some culture that wasn't just made for TV, basically.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the first tweet because, we got to talk about this shit.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's do the Tron one first, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
focus on Celsius. All right?
I know you love talk about that while I pull up my other Celsius shit, and then let me find it. Hold on.
Can you pop that Twitter chart up?
I got it. Cool. Hold on, let me share it. Until you told me, I didn't even know the fucking Tron thing was going on.
Oh yeah,
USDD
starting the depeg, and so Justin committed $2 billion of BTC. Now, this is what I don't like. I think if you're going to back up a stable coin, I don't think you should use BTC or ETH to back it up. I think that's absurd now. I mean, of course, I didn't think that 4 months ago. And now I see what's happening, and I'm like, it makes no fucking sense. It's like back it up with back it up with dollars or real world assets.
Yeah.
Because what happens when these pegs get attacked, then they got to sell the BTC.
Exactly.
Which anybody attacking a peg is shorting BTC at the same time.
Of course. Okay. Of course. Because they know that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, Jesus Christ, Justin, did you not just fucking watch UST?
Yeah.
Maybe he's shorting Bitcoin.
I don't know, man. But he just threw in $2 billion to fight off the shorts. I mean, funding rates are negative 500%.
Right.
On Binance. Look, funding rate of shorting TRX on Binance is negative 500% APR.
What's
now everybody, just so everybody remembers what that means. It just means that there's 5 times more shorts than there are longs.
So it's USDD, right? That's his
USDD. Yeah. Double D.
I want to see where we are right now. Oh, fucking Drops tab doesn't have it? Seriously? Hold on. USDD sitting at 98.95. Oh, look at that depegging. Hold on, let me get
98. What?
Yeah, it's trying to recover, but went as low as 98.07.
But see, now that $2 billion in US and BTC that Justin was going to commit or is committed to this, you know, of course now it's only worth 1.6 billion.
Right.
After last night.
Yeah.
So there's a nice $400 million hit overnight. Glad it didn't happen to me.
Yeah. I'm glad I didn't jump back in yet.
Yeah. No, I'm just sitting. I tell you though, it's tempting, man.
Dude,
I'm looking at
so
ETH
tempting.
at 1,200. I mean,
I know. We got the fucking merge coming. You got ST that eventually
played completely, right?
It started. That's what started this whole thing off. This is the whole Celsius thing, right?
Yeah.
It was depegging, but here's the deal. Post merge, if you're into ETH and you believe in it, this is not financial advice, and I certainly don't understand all the intricacies of it, but I do know this: 1 ST-ETH equals 1 ETH, and after the merge and after the initial lockup, you'll be able to take the 1 ST-ETH you bought at 5% below the current price or wherever ST-ETH is today, and exchange it for 1 ETH later on. So you've unless ETH crashes to $500,
excuse me,
you're in a pretty good position. Plus, you're staking it and earning 4% to 5% on the money. And my feeling is that post merge, ETH is in a really good place technologically. Like it is set to do really well as soon as the markets overall return. And I'm so tempted, and I was planning this week to start piling more ETH into staking, and decided to hold off on it. Glad I did, because I'd rather get it cheaper. But it's a crazy situation. But here's the thing: let's talk about the USDT a little bit more. So more news came out. The SEC won in court that their subpoenas of Doe are good, and he has to appear. So that was news over the weekend as well. But that was going to be actually the big topic of today, but obviously that's not the fucking case. So let's back up real quick. So for those of you that aren't aware, and what I understand of what I understand of all the details, we don't know a lot of details because Celsius is centralized. So we can't see what they're doing or how leveraged they are. But evidently Celsius has gotten extremely leveraged across the board with their funds. They are in a ton of different DeFi applications and protocols with their investments, and they're running out of money to reward all the people that they're paying interest to on their platform. And so they've been dumping ST-ETH, which caused the depeg. And that is actually, they're not in a position to be able to cover everyone. So last night they froze withdrawals.
Oh, Celsius?
Yeah. They froze withdrawals from their platform. Speaking of which, there are a lot of tweets today, resurfacing tweets from the Celsius account saying things like, if you don't have your money in a wallet, it's not your money. And making fun of, the CEO of Celsius.
Yashinsky?
Yeah, making fun of people who are over leveraged. He's another fucking Do Kwon. It's like, give me a fucking break. Seriously.
He's a bright guy, but they were operating in New York for a long time, Celsius. And then they moved out. They went to Tel Aviv, I think, just to get out of the regulatory spotlight. But they're in it. I mean, you operated on U.S. shores, New York, they're coming for you.
Oh, and get this. Now you have all these people who had deposited on Celsius to
Yep.
earn and who
Gone.
are leveraged elsewhere and can't get their fucking money out to keep their collateral up.
Yeah.
So now they're getting liquidated, right? This is a shit storm. I don't know how long it lasts. I really don't know how long it lasts, but
well, you know what else I heard? Just real quick.
Yeah.
I saw this on Twitter or somewhere. I mean, it was in the news because I don't really look at Twitter much, but that they had moved from a Celsius wallet, moved 320 million into FTX right before they sent that letter out to everybody.
Right.
So what was that about?
Yeah, trying to. I don't know. I guess
they lock all the wallets right after they, loot the till. I mean, are you as sick of these fuckers as I am, man? I'm just so sick of these guys.
I'm sick of the same fucking lessons never being learned by human beings, right?
Yeah.
Like you look at Huang, that hedge fund guy, right? That's now under indictment. All leverage. Everybody in their fucking greed to leverage. I think there is a responsible level of leverage. I don't like touching it, but I think there is a responsible level of leverage that's possible. But this cycle of over and over again in finance markets of people over leveraging because they get fucking greedy because 8 billion isn't enough, right? Is to me just it's astounding. And when you're somebody like Celsius, Huang is managing big money for big people, right? So I don't have as much sympathy. But when you're somebody like Celsius who's been recruiting retail people into your platform, and then you go irresponsibly leverage your entire fucking platform at the risk of their money, that shit is just bullshit, right? And the problem is because they're centralized, we have nobody has any insight into what they're doing. Some of the guys, I've got to find the fucking original tweet that cued me off to it, because that's what pisses me off, is that this fucking lesson can't be learned. Here it is, small cap scientist. Is that people aren't figuring this shit out, that like, you're not that brilliant. You're not that brilliant. It will catch up to you eventually, right? The few that get away with this fucking over leverage and greed attitude are rare. And here we are, Celsius not only fucking their customers, but fucking everybody in the ecosystem. Everything that they built upon supposedly in DeFi, they have now screwed them all over. And
well, look what it says right there in the middle of the screen. STETH and ETH peg is in rough shape and running out of liquidity fast.
Yeah.
Is there a liquidity pool somewhere? Where do you go get the is that Curve. Like a Curve? Yeah, Curve was crushed last night.
Yeah, everybody's dumping out. They're dumping out of it, trying to get cash to shore up.
35%, man. Yeah, 35% off.
Yeah, heavily imbalanced. 75% of the pool now STETH. Highest imbalance ever. This was June 9th. This was Thursday or Friday that these guys started noticing it. He was working with at market capping, and they were the ones that saw that this was happening, and they started to figure out where it was coming from and that it tied back to Celsius, right? And Alameda Research exited their position, unloaded 50,000 STETH over a matter of hours on the 8th. And they could see what was coming, and they're probably trying to squeeze Celsius, right?
Well, but Alameda is the king of the dumpers.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they dump and trash shit all the time after they get their gains. Yeah. I want to pull up another chart now that you said that.
This is when they figured out ETH. This is how they figured out Celsius was the connector. There's 7 investors that are the largest holders of Lido STETH. And they're the ones that can make a bank run happen. So when they started looking at other STETH holders, red flags started popping up, starting with Celsius.
Let's see that. The 7 investors. Scroll back up. Who are this? There we go. 7 investors.
Alameda, Coinbase, Paradigm, DCG, and Jump in 3 arrows.
GBTC. That's that Chicago venture fund. I think I did something with them.
DCG is the firm. They own GBTC.
Is that a crypto thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because there was a big Chicago. No, maybe it's GTCR. Yeah, a big Chicago venture fund that was big in the IT services space 20-something years ago, and I remember they were funding like Viant and Scient and Agency.com. Remember all those companies?
Yeah.
Sapient. No, Sapient wasn't one of theirs, but they would just, you'd come in with the concept and they were just stroking checks for, I met a guy, I can't remember what his company was named, but they just gave him 75 million up front.
Yeah. Well, so
maybe that's why they're not around anymore.
So Celsius has 450,000 STETH worth $1.5 billion. Using Aave, they deposited STETH for collateral and have accumulated 1.2 billion in debt. Right? That still shouldn't be an issue. The issue is that Celsius Network is quickly running out of liquid funds to pay back their investors who are redeeming positions. So on one side, they have all this debt that they've been using to pay people who are staking on the Celsius network, on the Celsius website.
So they were borrowing to pay yield?
Yeah, borrowing to pay yield. Yeah.
There's a Ponzi scheme for you right there.
Exactly. Billions in illiquid positions, and they're taking massive loan against to pay their customers' redemptions. How are they struggling so bad? For liquidity becomes the next question. They managed to lose insane amount of money in hacks. So because they were investing in projects that got hacked, they ended up losing, I don't know, $700 million with Stakehound, $50 million in BadgerDAO, $500 million in Luna. And so now they're really up shit's creek because they're having to borrow more to actually pay off the staking yields. And do they shut it off? No. As late as like Friday afternoon, they were tweeting about the fucking 17% yields. Nobody in that group is saying, hey, maybe we need to fucking chill out on getting new customers on. Maybe we shouldn't let new customers on. Maybe they should have figured that out, 6 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, whatever, when they started getting in trouble. But no, they can't because they got to feed the Ponzi, right?
Can I ask a question? Remember when Cryptopia was going down and there was something weird happening there at the very end that I was just tapping on. When I think about oh shit, I lost it, man.
I don't know, dude.
I'll come back.
Let me know if it comes back.
Yeah, thanks.
And then investors were trying to redeem their positions at a rate of 50,000 ETH per week. Means Celsius Network had two options: sell their STETH for ETH and then stablecoin in order to become more liquid, use the STETH as collateral and take out loans to repay customers. Diving into option one, STETH in order to become more, selling STETH to become more liquid. Their position is around 450,000 ETH. Only about 242,000 ETH of liquidity remains. Every sell, the pool gets further away from being pegged. So they were actually pushing the peg down further because they were dumping, right? And that takes the peg worse, which makes people panic and worry. And the people who are holding STETH freak out. There's also about 5 million of STETH liquidity on Uniswap, and I've been able to track the size of the SEX liquidity. STETH is only paired with ETH outside of a portion with USDC on FTX. That means STETH is sold to ETH, which is dumped for stables. So they sell the STETH, they get ETH, and then they're dumping ETH to get the USDC to short their liquidity. So what happens? Then ETH drops in price, right? Yeah. And we're talking about large quantities here. We're not talking about little shit. Option two is taking loans. They've already has over 1 billion in debt, and Aave has nearly 2.5 billion STETH being used as collateral. Not good. He says, let's say STETH depegs heavily or market conditions get worse. Celsius gets liquidated, borrowing is getting more expensive. Their collateral is losing value due to market conditions, and selling below peg hurts and liquidity is drying up. It's a negative feedback cycle. Yikes. Yeah. So they're trying to dump. They're pushing the price down. That affects their lending collateral. So they're in trouble more. They've got to get more liquid. They have to push the price down because they're selling more STETH against ETH. ETH's getting dumped, USDC. I mean, it's just this fucking vicious cycle. And
God, Aave is worrisome now too. Shit.
Exactly. It says, then he said, it's very likely that Celsius would freeze redemptions before they would get liquidated, which they did yesterday. They froze not only redemptions, but they froze all withdrawals. Yeah.
I know what I was thinking. I was thinking when Cryptopia was in trouble. Remember they locked everything down and they let us come in and take the BTC out. Remember they had that, and you could take BTC only, I think. I don't know. Could you take ETH or just BTC?
No, I think it was just BTC, but I'm not sure.
And so thinking that was the right thing to do, but then once they did that, everybody took all the BTC out, and then it just cratered the whole fucking friggin' thing.
So the problem becomes, all the other people that hold it, right? That's an issue. Swissborg has 27 million in STETH, Curve LP, and another 52,000 STETH available. If they pull their Curve position and sell, Celsius becomes trapped nearly instantly in their positions. The whales are exiting. Who will get out first, right? So all the whales are like, well, fuck it, I'll take them out and I'll and I'll get out before it gets too bad.
Yeah, and put your buy orders in.
Yeah.
Aave at $5.
Yeah.
Matic at 3 cents.
Exactly.
Curve at 10 cents. I mean,
Exactly.
Curve's at like 40 or 50 cents right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Matic was as high as, I think, 3 or something, or 5. And now it's at like 40, 30, 20 cents something.
Yeah.
Phantom. I mean, Phantom's market cap is now below $500 million.
It's insane.
And so you're like, and it's down to 20 cents, I think.
Yeah.
So, look, go into your.
Here's where more, though. Look what else they have to liquidate. Chainlink and WBTC. Oof. So the only other places they can get money to cover themselves is $7 million in Link and $400 million in SWBTC.
Yeah, and again, that 400. When was this put out? The 9th?
WBTC.
Yeah,
this was on the 9th.
So that 400 million is now probably 300 million.
Yeah, exactly. Putting them in a tighter squeeze, putting them in worse position, and it's all because they couldn't do it smart. They couldn't do it. These people that get. It's just, to me, it's just flabbergasted to see how easily these people. Like, okay, we got to keep making more money. We want to make more money. Let's leverage. It's just so fucked up, dude.
Well, it's kind of like when we were always joking around or doing it too. Those 9-9 models. It's fucking insane.
Yeah.
But you do it and hope you get out in time.
Yeah. He said, if I were a VC or market maker, I would have a massive target on Celsius back, liquidate them in short, which all the big guys are doing.
Oh, yeah.
And then break the ST ETH peg, bank run starts, ETH price crashes, and then buy ST ETH at a massive discount before the merge. Exactly what I was saying earlier, right?
Yeah.
And it's true. Look, any of these other funds can control the market that way for somebody like Celsius because they know that they can't do anything to stop it. They can't save themselves. The only thing I guess would save them is somebody comes in with, $2.5 billion. Who's going to do that? Who's making that bet?
There's some pretty heavy hitter Israelis there with a lot of cash. I used the real estate ones, and I could see they could come in with some money, but they're going to own it at that point.
Right.
Whoever comes in with, $2.5 billion to shore up their balance sheet is going to take 95% of the company.
Yep.
No ifs, ands, or buts. So they're going to let it just tank.
Let me see if he had any other follow-up. Yeah, he said that he predicted that. Yeah, that was the last one.
I do like that play on waiting for it to depeg and tank and then buying ST ETH at that point.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying, ETH below 1,000. I'm hearing people talking much worse than that too. Again, I don't think those are long trend positions, those numbers. Right. I think it's a capitulation wick. And then people pour back in. But it's definitely not going to be this week. Maybe
what's ETH at right now?
I thought it was at 1,200, but I haven't. Let me flip over.
Let me look. Screen. I got it.
I got a 1257 on Binance. It's been coming back since the bottom of 1162.
And ST ETH is at 1175.
1175 and 1256. Yeah.
What's the percentage on that?
I'm sorry.
I'm checking the difference.
1255 to 1175. So another $75.
81.
I don't know, 5%.
Yeah. So you can make 5%. You can make your staking earn, and you got to figure market turn ETH back to eventually $1,500, $1,600, $1,700, $2,000. If you believe that the merge is going to do great things for Ethereum and the price, Hey, Joe, take over a second. I got to take this.
Yeah, remind us when that merge is coming through too.
I will. Hold on.
Yeah. So what do we talked about? Celsius. We talked about. Let me just pull my screen up and see if I can find something to share real quick. But again, this is stuff where I feel.
Back.
Did you follow it? Oh, you're back. Did you follow any of this stuff about? Well, I don't want to change the subject now.
Okay. Wait, what did Chuck say? Oh, yeah, that Trump thing is even deeper than that. It was quid pro quo with the Russians to allow them to produce more. It's definitely why we have $100 plus barrel oil now. Oh, interesting. Didn't realize that. Sounds like it's time to implement some of that Singapore caning justice.
Is that you or is that a comment?
That's Chuck.
Oh.
You pull this stupid shit with other people's money, you get a primetime spot on the caning channel.
The caning channel. I love it.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I love it, man.
Shit. Yeah, no, it's so fucked up. You know, and the funny thing is I was in a back and forth with Sean on
XP,
Twitter.
XP.
Yeah. You know, and he's like, he's blaming it on DeFi, and I'm saying they're not DeFi, they're centralized, and the blame is a story as old as credit has been around. And that is that when credit was invented, people abused it, and they abused it for reasons of greed. And that's what happens. And it's happened over and over and over again. People get over leveraged because they're making a lot of money and they think they're making a lot of money. And then they fuck everybody else in the process. You know, I mean, it is over and over again in our history. So my point of view is, you know, the good news about all of this, if there's anything good to take out of it, is that there'll be some lessons learned. People will remember, hopefully. But at the same time, there will still be somebody else that comes along and does what Celsius did, and does what, you know, people that were over leveraged in Ohm and over leveraged in other protocols will do. They're going to do it again because they think they're printing money and making a fortune. Sadly, that's going to be, and that is the cause of it. The real cause of this is over leveraging because of greed. And, you know,
well, to touch on Sean's favorite coin, BTC, you know, I don't look at this stuff going on in DeFi, let's say, as what he said, and then that brings the price of BTC down. I think the BTC price was going down on its own.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until Do Kwon started dumping, because everybody was shorting BTC before that.
Yep.
So it wasn't, even if you could make the argument that a centralized thing is DeFi and it's DeFi's fault that BTC down, I think that's just ludicrous.
Yeah.
James
said most likely August or September. Yeah, I'm hearing maybe October to the end of the year. But the Ropsten testnet worked well, and they've dealt with all of the little buggy things, that occurred from it. So,
you know, back to your leverage point, though. So we're going to move to the next topic soon, I think. You know, if you feel like when you're making leverage bets, you're really betting on which way BTC is going.
Right.
Okay. And if you're using BTC as an underlying asset to borrow on and do things like that, if the BTC price moves the wrong way, you know, then all your leverage goes in the tank. So to me, I'm like, you know, these were just some bad calls made on which way it was going, and people not thinking it could go down further. Now, interestingly enough, when we hit that 21,000 number, or if we hit it, you know, I really want to see what happens with the MicroStrategy stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's their number. They have to make a margin call. But see, look, they actually, and I'm not a big Saylor fan. I knew a bunch of his people, CFO, his IT teams back in the day. But it's like he was smart. When he took the loan out from Silvergate on BTC, he did a 25% LTV. Can you imagine if he had done 70% LTV?
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, MicroStrategy would be bankrupt at this point.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was a smart move. So he must have posted, I mean, I don't know how much he's got billions of BTC, right? I mean, dollars worth. Yeah. You know, so I don't know. I mean, it's like, it's a smart move on the leverage side, but, you know, usually people that are going high leverage, you know, you're starting with a small amount of money.
Right.
You're trying to make a big amount of money. So you go leverage. But if you got a lot of money, you don't use leverage.
Exactly.
Because you're just trying to eke out a little bit, you know, lunch money.
Yeah.
Car money, whatever, you know, you're not trying to like
mansion money.
Yeah. You're not trying to like just, hit the jackpot.
That's right.
I think that get out of the gambling perspective a little bit. And just, it's hard in crypto though, because there's nothing, we can't evaluate the people, the management teams, nothing. I mean, that's the thing. It's really hard it's easier to say that than to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, one thing I heard come in too, Brad, just so you know, the real Kiyosaki, I guess, is his investment advice today is buy cans of tuna fish and
I saw that.
You can't eat gold, silver, or Bitcoin.
Hey, let Sean speak for himself. He said to be
okay, cool.
To be very clear, I'm not blaming DeFi for the drop in price of BTC. Sure, maybe it speeds up the process, but we have been heading for 13.8 thousand since last year. And I will tell you that the folks in the material indicators discussion have been consistent about at least 18,000 for Bitcoin. So,
13.8. Yeah.
13.8.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure. Thanks for clarifying that, Sean, by the way. I was just coming back on Brad's comments.
Blame me.
So,
blame me.
Because we all like you, of course. 13.8. Yeah. I mean, I could see it, but I think it's a capitulation wick is my guess. I mean, what do you think, Sean? If you can comment one more time.
Yeah. They've been calling for a capitulation.
But is it a wick, like a deep V, or are they saying down and sideways?
I have no idea.
Down and up?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Because usually capitulation wick means a down and up, because you see that big wick, which means buyers came in that same window.
Yep. While we're waiting, Kobe, who started Lido, and by the way, if you've never read any of Kobe's posts on Substack, they're phenomenal. Just his writing is awesome. Almost as good as what's his name? Anyway, it'll come to me in a minute. This is a fantastic insights into STETH, the peg, how it works, how it functions, what the impacts will be. This was a funny as hell tweet. This meme is hilarious. Why is it when something happens, it's always you three? That was great.
What's the one on the right? I don't know that logo.
3 arrows.
Okay,
capital.
Got it.
Sean says 200 WMA, 22,000 in normal macro, but I think this runs long and deep to 13.8. No insta bounce until the Fed pivots. So September.
So until the Fed starts cutting rates, it sounds like.
Yep. And it's funny that interview I was listening to yesterday was strongly tied to the guy that it was interviewed. I know what it was. It was Peter McCormick was interviewing the guy. I got to look on that podcast feed so I can credit him properly. He called the top for Bitcoin based on the Arthur Hayes. Thank you, James. I need help in my 50s. He called the top. He said late October, this guy on Peter's show, way back when. And he bases it entirely on the Fed. Like every investment he makes in BTC, he bases entirely on what the Fed's doing. And it's becoming that we are correlated to the regular rest of the economy when we all thought that Bitcoin was going to free us from it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to me, I don't know. I think as assets mature, problems arise. The weak stuff gets cut out.
Yeah.
And I think that most of the money going into, I'm not going to say most, a large amount of the money going into crypto, I'm trying to tie into his Fed example of when he does something. It's when there's extra liquidity out in the system and when the money's printing. So when they're cutting rates and doing stuff like that, they're printing money. Well, that extra money has to go somewhere. And so, you already got enough money and you get that extra money, you're not going to T-bills with it. You're going to go take on some risk.
Right.
So risk is crypto right now. So I don't know. I think that's right. I mean, I think what was interesting is I look back, when the pandemic crash happened, you saw what happened to crypto too. I mean, you got just gashed.
Yep.
And so I think it's still where people are selling off crypto to cover real world margin calls and things like that. And they still regard it as a risk on asset. And they still liquidate when they need to cover something else or they get paranoid. I don't know if it gets to where, I think it becomes part of the overall economic system. But, I've been saying this for a long time. And I don't mean to, I'm a man of the people, so don't get the wrong idea here. But I just don't think that big finance is going to let this get away from them.
Right.
That they're going to roll it all up. And so to me, again, that's your exit liquidity. I mean, not at this level, of course, but later on, so I don't know. I mean, I hope it gets independent, but all of it correlates. All of it links.
Yeah.
When you talk to these treasury guys about stable coins, they're looking at all of them and the way they fit into, the overall macro economy. So I just don't. I don't know right now. I mean, I guess it's
Well, I
just
mean,
going to
I
go
think
for a while.
I think that look, I think the disappointing thing for this whole idea of decentralized money that's not attached
Doesn't
was
have a middleman. Yeah.
yeah, it was a great concept, but when it comes down to it, we're all dependent. All of us are dependent on one dude and a team at the Fed, right? I mean, ultimately, we are tied to
For
it.
crypto, you're saying?
Yeah, because it's tied to USD, right? And as long and until there's some way to break away from that, that's going to be what we suffer from. And I don't think there's going to be a decoupling for a very long time. The only thing I think that can do it is a massive crash of the financial system. And by that, I mean like where everything is just in ruins. And I don't, ultimately, we don't think anybody's going to let that happen, but it could, I guess. But I don't see how crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, any of them ever are able to completely stake their independence.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I mean, maybe there's a slow evolutionary process where DeFi picks up enough steam and enough people are investing in it that there is a gradual evolving process of decoupling. But I frankly think it's going to take a real shock to the system to have it be independent.
Yeah, I just don't see how it gets independent at this point. I mean, and again, are we talking BTC, ETH, or everything? I think it's just, look, is gold independent?
Well, it was up yesterday.
No, I mean, do you think of it as? I mean, a lot of people call it I'm not quizzing you. I'm just talking.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, if BTC is like a digital gold, I mean, I could see that. I don't know if I'd call it digital gold, but some kind of digital risk management or diversification play. I think we've all gotten a little lucky across the board the last 12 years.
Yeah.
Both crypto and fiat world. BTC decouples on the basis of nation state.
Nation state adoption.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah,
we got to get Sean on, dude.
We do, man. Let's get him on next. What's a Monday? What is today? Monday. Yeah. Let's get him on this week or next.
I'll DM you, Sean. I want to get you on the show, buddy.
Yeah, at that point, that does make sense. Then it would, as it's a recognized, I guess.
It becomes inserted. Aspect. Yeah, it becomes inserted into the world economy at that point. More than El Salvador can do. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be major.
It's got to be like EU or US or something like that.
Yeah.
China. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I don't think we'd give a shit at this point. They're on a slow road down right now. I mean, the whole thing, I'll tell you, for the last 10 years, everybody's always worrying, what do we do with the China, man? They're growing. And now all the chatter for the last year has been, what do we do when China falls apart?
Right.
That's more what everybody's worried about, that whole place melting down, not about them, being a superpower or something, which they're not.
So on some other news, I love Coin Center. Everybody knows I love Coin Center. If you've never donated to Coin Center, go do it right fucking now. Plus they'll give you a really cool Bitcoin t-shirt. My favorite t-shirt. It's got this retro logo on it. It's really cool. But go give them $50, or if you can afford it, give them more, because Coin Center's out there looking for us, out for all of us on regulatory. They challenged in court the enforcement of the reporting mechanism. Let me see when that happened. I remember when that was implemented.
2021?
The tax reporting mandate, yeah. Basically saying, look, this idea that everyone has to report $10,000 or more in transaction, $10,000 or more in a transaction, has to report sender's name, date of birth, and social security number, is unconstitutional mass surveillance. But the big brains at Coin Center are constantly analyzing, constantly testing the regulatory system. And I love that they actually went ahead and filed suit against the U.S. Treasury to allege that it's unconstitutional.
Scroll down a little bit. A little bit. I just want to see something here. All right, stop right there. Who do they go into? Department of Treasury, Commissioner of the IRS, Attorney General,
Merrick Garland.
U.S. Yeah, good luck with that lawsuit.
I actually I think their goal is to get a ruling, right? The idea is it's not to it's to get a constitutional or unconstitutional ruling, right? And to establish the precedent, which I think is very smart, right? They're not like seeking damages. They're just trying to fucking say, hey,
clarify it. Yeah.
yeah, this is not constitutional. You can't do this to average Americans. And
But
it's
didn't the
bullshit.
Congress pass, or how did it get out there?
Congress passed it.
If Congress passed it, it's constitutional. Basically.
No,
take it to the Supreme Court.
What? Congress passes unconstitutional shit all the time in the history of this country.
It has to go to the Supreme Court to get resolved. They're constantly litigating. So my point is just that you can't go and say that the $10,000 rule is mass surveillance when it's already in effect everywhere at the banks.
It is in effect at the banks, but it's not in effect if I gave you $10,000 to buy something from you. If I give you $10,000 in cash, I don't have to ask you for your social security number, your date of birth, or anything.
You give me $10,000 in cash? Why would I give you my social security number?
Well, that's what under this law. If I send you $10,000 in crypto for something, I have to get your social security number, your date of birth, your name, everything else. Yeah. No, it's money laundering. They're trying to enforce money laundering and tax evasion, and so
that's what I was saying.
And so they're saying I have to report it if you do it now.
Well, see, if you give me the $10,000, you're supposed to cut me a 1099.
Right. But my point is it's impossible to, I guess you're true. That's right.
Over $600, right?
But this is impossible to implement in DeFi because the law is insanity, because the whole idea of you transacting $10,000 on a DeFi protocol means that these protocols would have to be reporting like constantly, and so essentially all of us would have to reveal our date of birth, name, social security number to all of these protocols.
I mean, U.S., foreign, what? Look, it'll be interesting to see how it resolves.
Yeah,
but when money's moving around like that in big chunks, it is under AML and counterterror stuff. So that's what they're really talking about. I don't think they're really the tax stuff. I mean, it's too hard to do there because you could be paying back a loan to me with that $10,000. You know what I mean? Or you could be
exactly. It could be anything. Yeah,
it's not always revenue just because you move the money around.
Exactly.
So I think you need more meat on that law as far as better definitions in the implementation of it. Yep. Now, well, let's see.
All incoming transactions worth $10,000 or more must have sender's name, date of birth, and social security number. NGOs that receive anonymous donations, non-fungible tokens, artists who will have to reveal their clients' personal information to the government. And then the whole idea of individuals collecting my social security number is just fucking insanity. I mean, that would be, dozens of transactions a year that I'm handing it over to somebody who could use it for something else.
Yeah, but everybody already has that number. That's the problem.
Well, look, but at the end of the day, why put it out on a massive scale? I don't trust the banks to keep it safe, but at least I know they try. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, that seems kind of, I get what they're trying to say. But I think the number, if you're going to do that, make the number higher.
Well, that's the problem. It's been out for 20 years at $10,000.
Oh, for the banking stuff. Yeah.
I mean, it should be increased for all across the board for all financial. It should be dramatically increased.
Yeah, but I move chunks like that around in my fiat accounts. And so, think about it. Every time I move transfers around a lot at my bank. So every time you transfer, it's generating a report, I think.
Yeah, it does.
So, like when you're moving, 20 grand from checking to savings or something like that. I mean, you're generating a report there that goes in, but see, you're in a bank account. So they already have all your information.
Exactly.
So they can come get you.
Exactly.
If they want. I don't know. We all want better clarification on these laws so people don't mess up and get in trouble, of course.
Niblet says, as long as oil priced in USDs, I'm not sure nation state adoption is in the cards. That's probably a really good point.
Yeah, very good.
That's a really good point. Joe, I have about 400 other things in our little chat, but I think I'm about ready to wrap it up for the day.
Oh, 12:51 already. Damn. Man.
Went fast.
Yeah. No, I mean.
And we have a call in 30 minutes.
Oh, shit. That's our calls at. Oh, yeah. No, I just have to pick my daughter up from something at 2. Okay, that's cool. All right. No, sorry. It's like, they're all out of school, as you know. And, she's doing her, high performance tennis stuff at her club every day, for the summer.
Yeah.
Because, she wants to be good in college. So, we're kind of getting that back going on top. And it's just so funny to see them grow up and out there brawling, and talking shit. And, what is this? The PII grab is just Camel digital dollar.
They'll just manage who and where you can spend your cash. I agree.
That's what everybody says, and I'm always one who's like, I don't think the government's at the top of the pyramid. Okay. I think it's the rich people that control the government.
Yeah, sure.
That are at the top of the pyramid. And, we never see them. We don't know who they are, blah, 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 blah. But, what does this say? But when I hear people talk about that, like the wallet stuff, I'm kind of going, that's an overreach. They're not going to do that. But then I see what China's doing.
Yeah.
And they could just shut your wallet down.
Yeah.
When they put that, and if you don't get your little social credit points, for tweeting Go China or something, yeah, they're going to fucking start taking the money.
Yeah.
And if they want to, this is the way you can implement monetary policy too.
Yeah.
By shaving portfolios.
Speaking of China, on that note, and then we should probably cut it off.
Get out of here. Yeah.
There was a new warning from, I don't know if it was Department of Defense, CIA, State Department, what, yesterday, that China's actively hacking internet providers all around the world.
Yeah.
And they're doing it to spy on people that are critical of them on social media.
Oh, yeah.
And there have actually been threats against people who are critical of China on social media. So,
well, they mainly go after the Chinese.
Yeah.
The Chinese Americans that are critical of
it.
Yeah.
But
everybody else, if I say something they're going to fall apart, they don't give a shit about that.
China sucks.
Yeah. No, what? They got seven languages, 30 something ethnicities. That shit's coming apart, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's a polluted. Well, I haven't been there in over a decade, but back then, it's just worse now. It was a polluted mess.
Yep.
And you can't blame them. They want to industrialize and be prosperous and this and that, but it's hard to implement that on a, what they got 1.2 billion, 1.4 billion people. It's hard to implement shit like that on that when, 1.2 billion of them are, dirt poor, uneducated peasant farmers.
Right.
And I'm not being judgmental. I'm just stating a fact. And they live for one thing. It's food. Yeah. It's all food.
Yeah.
And, the Chinese revolution happened because of a lack of food. It was an agrarian revolution. So the Communist Party there is so freaked out about that, waiting for it to come full circle and, food riots. But that's why they keep deficit spending everything and do all that. And, they're in a tough place right now.
It's going to get a lot worse with the grain shortage coming.
Yeah. So let's see what happens. But anyhow, let's, I could talk for another hour when we get on that topic, but let's cut
with this. We have been so all over the place today, but I love it because it's there's so much fucking news coming out. We should have done a 4-hour show today.
I would also say that, when we see this misery and the prices dropping like this, just remember the time, remember Pumptober?
Yep.
When we first started this?
Yep.
And everything's going up. This is the other side of it.
And it's always going to be there.
And that's why I always talk about trimming your position. Don't hold for the long term in this space now, unless you got a bazillion tokens at less than a cent of something that and you believe in, and it's a good project. Sure, whatever, hold that. But trade this stuff.
Yep.
Everybody's probably wishing they sold that ETH at 4,200 right now, or 4,800 or 5. I sold at 4,400 myself, but because I don't believe it. I'm waiting on the merge, but I like this Brad angle. Buy the ST ETH now and wait for it to really tank and buy it, and then get ready for the next one. So
because you can redeem for an ETH and it's there, and the merge pumps this thing up, then all is good. And that is not financial advice.
No, we never advise financial.
Thank you for listening. We love you. We appreciate you. Please, if you get a chance, take a few minutes to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It's always appreciated. It helps us grow the show, and we need to grow the show. If you have any ideas or thoughts, projects you want to talk about, guests you think we should have, topics we should be discussing, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. DM me on Telegram and Twitter at B05Crypto, and on Discord at B05Crypto #2143. We love you. We appreciate you. Thanks for listening. And thank you to everyone that participated today. Chuck, Niblets, Sean, James, all of you are appreciated for joining in. And we love talking to you. Take care.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.